Welcome to the Insight Thru Experience Podcast. A podcast created to provide information about what life is like inside the most specialized special tactics organization in the U.S. Air Force. In these episodes, we'll be bringing you the experiences from many of our experts, ranging from our human performance optimization staff, our combat mission supporters, as well as our special warfare operators. Our main objective with these podcasts are to provide the listener with a unique look inside our culture of excellence in hopes that you will make the 724 a future career goal. Now sit back, relax, take some notes, prepare to hear from some of the Air Force's finest. Thank you for joining us on the Insight Thru Experience Podcast. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Insight Thru Experience Podcast. This week's going to be a fun one. We're starting a new series that I'm dubbing the Roundtable Discussions. And this week's going to be an operator roundtable. And what does that mean? I invited 5 of the operators that I most respect inside the organization that I think are just fantastic examples of what we should all be striving for when it comes to, being an operator inside of ST. And we also brought a diversity of AFSCs. And the whole intent of this is we're just going to throw out some questions to the table and let the guys weigh in and give their opinions on these questions to hopefully reveal what life is like inside the 724, to give you a snapshot of some culture, some of the benefits these guys have experienced since they've been up here, some of the reasoning why they're still up here, and maybe more importantly, the experiences they've had since they've been here. Now, it's important to note, as always, we can't cross over any classification line, so we're keeping this definitely at the unclass level. And I think the guys did fantastically well at doing that, but also being forthright and revealing everything that they can. And, there's 6 people sitting in this room, including myself, and we all took these 2 hours out of our day just to help you, just sitting out there on the fence, trying to make a decision. Is this a good move for me or my family? We just want to reveal the information to make that decision easier for you, because none of us had information like this when we had to make that decision for ourselves when we were sitting in your position. So hopefully that comes across genuinely. These guys are guys that really care about this organization, but also care about ST and rescue in general. So we just want to keep making the process better. So hopefully you'll enjoy this episode. Give us feedback. You can go over to YouTube and leave comments. And let us know what else you want to hear after this, and we're going to get some support folks in the future in the roundtable, and we'll go from here. We'll see where this leads us. All right, y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed this discussion. Shout out to Murph, to Eric, to Duane, to Jared, and to Garron for sitting down with me and taking time out of their busy days. All right, y'all. Like I always say, sit back, grab some caffeine, grab a notebook, because they're going to be dropping some knowledge. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the Insight Thru Experience Podcast. Let's go. All right, welcome, Jess. Thanks for coming to do this seriously, first off, for taking some time out of your day. So we're going to start. We're going to go around the table real quick. This is our first round table ever, so we're going to go ahead and start. We're going to let Murph start us off and just describe. Murph, let us know what drove you up here from your last unit. Why did you decide to apply for the 724? And what are you oriented against right now for the unit?
Thanks, Trey. Murph here, TACP. What drove me up to the unit was to be a part of the most highly trained and most motivated group of people at ST. I also wanted to take part in the most important missions that's here in the country. Right now, I'm currently a cadre for the Data Masked Units training course.
My name's Eric. I'm a 19 Zulu. I've been up at the unit for coming on 5 years. Reason I came up to the unit was the mission and the chance to work with the people that make up the unit here. Currently, I'm sitting in as the OPSO for one of the op squadrons at the unit.
Hey, thanks, Trey. Yeah, my name's Duane. I'm a combat controller up here at the unit. I've been here for about 15 years. What drove me up to the unit was I knew there was something bigger out there. I just wanted to be a part of something else. I wasn't getting that need fulfilled at the 2 series unit that I was at, so I wanted to come up and be a part of this unit and be surrounded by the best talent that the aspect warfare has to offer. My current position, I'm part of the recruit, assess, select, develop team. So we run all the recruiting for the operator side of the house, as well as the combat mission support side of the house. And then we facilitate all the selections for operator and combat mission support as well. In addition, we run a development program which we can talk about a little bit later. But that's my current position, part of the recruit, assess, select, development team.
This is Jared. Been up here for 7 years. I'm a TL on one of the troops at one of the operational squadrons. What brought me up here was an augmentation back in 2012, and saw the reach and capability of the command and knew that there was a lot more out there than what the traditional 2 Series ST units had to offer, and that's when I decided to come up.
Garron, combat controller, went through OTC in 18. The previous little over a decade, it was a guard STS. I was working myself into more of a managerial position. I felt like I still had a lot to offer operationally. And from everything that I heard, this was the place to be doing really significant operations. And I actually was going through Free Fall JM with Jared, and he kind of re-sparked my interest in this organization. And it was the best thing I ever did in my career.
Awesome. So for the audience, we're going to do more of these, but we probably won't be able to fill the room with as much talent as you just heard and guys that have been here as long as they have. So I'm going to throw out the first question to the round table, and how this is going to go. We're going to throw out a question. We're going to give the chance for guys to answer. Some guys may not have an answer for a question, or somebody may have said what they wanted to say, so we'll see how that goes. And then at the end of my 4 questions-ish, the guys will start throwing out questions for the round table, and we'll just move on from there. The intent of this is just to give enough information or get the information out there so you can kind of understand what the culture is like inside the organization, so you can make a good decision if this feels like a right decision for you to put in an application and come up and assess. All right, so let's start it out. And Duane, I'm going to pinpoint you first and let you start us off. So why is this a good time for operators to come to the unit, do you think?
For me, Trey, why is it a good time to come to the unit right now? Because obviously there's a lot of unknowns out there. We're unsure what that future is going to look like. There's a lot of unknowns with AFSOC and how that's going to play into what's coming up in the future. But one thing's for certain, whatever we're looking at in the future, we will be there. We'll be at the forefront of that operation, that mission, whatever it is. Whether it's, obviously the extremist organizations aren't going away. So we'll still have that mission set here. We'll always be attached to that mission set. And then if we're looking at strategic competition, peer, near peer, whatever you want to call it, whatever the term is for the day, we'll be involved in that as well. So there's no better place to be to get trained up and train and get equipped to go out and to tackle what's next for the nation.
Murph here. I think another great reason to come up here is if you just look in the news of what's going on today. You've got major Russian revanchism going on, and changing of how the entire dynamic of geopolitics works. Whenever something like this happens, there are proxy wars, hot wars cooking off at all times, and this is the organization that is truly the tip of the spear. So if you want to do your job, now and here is the best place to do that at.
Man, from my perspective, there's never not been a good time to come to this unit. It's at the forefront of what goes on from our military's perspective. This unit has a standing mission that's never going to go away. So there's always going to be work to do in the realm that we're tasked with. And then anytime something new springs up, this unit is a part of our nation's response to the newest thing. So it's always at the forefront. It's always on the leading edge of this nation's response to whatever's going on in the world.
Along the same lines as Eric, there really never has been a bad time to come up here. Like he said, this is the tip of the spear, kind of what everyone signed up to do when they saw the pamphlet at MEPS. But along those lines, we're in an interesting spot because we have a completely different OpCon chain of command than our AdCon chain of command, which gives us a lot of free maneuver, gives us a lot of different opportunities to tackle problems and mission sets that aren't available outside of this command. So if you're one of those guys that's kind of on the fence about sticking around, maybe re-enlisting or not re-enlisting, and you feel a little unfulfilled in your military career, now would be a great time to come up and assess. I think it'll open a lot of doors for you, and it might reinvigorate your passion for what you signed up to do.
I think we've been saying a lot of the same thing as far as the most strategically impactful operations are taking place up within this command. but also the most daring operations with the most highly trained and best problem solvers in the world. And if that's not enough to bring somebody up here, I don't really know what is.
As a recruiter, like, I'm wanting to reach out as far into the future as we can for folks, and there's a huge audience that are thinking about coming in aspect war in general, right? So for those guys, what is the difference? Even when they're coming through the pipeline, they really don't understand the difference. Hey, I'm going to go out to my unit, and what y'all are saying is what I think I'm going to be doing. So help the audience understand, why is it different? Not that it's better or worse. We're always saying that, like, what's going on outside the fence line is very important, but what's the difference that we can explain to them of why this should be maybe a place, a future assignment on their career path?
One of the differences is just the chain of command that this unit falls under, and how short that chain of command is to national decision makers, which means, when something happens and a response is needed, because there's that short chain of command, this command and this unit, are often the ones that are called on to go do the nation's bidding.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And because of those tasks that are given to us, it opens up a lot of avenues for us to be able to get creative in the solutions that we come up with. When you start looking at, the administrative portion of what it takes to accomplish some of these major operations, from budget to manning to logistics, you won't have that kind of support anywhere other than up here. You are literally having the nation and their decision makers and their policy makers behind your back to get what you want across the goal line.
If I'm speaking to a young guy about why this would be a valuable place for his career, if you look at the operational timeline of ST over a while, it's kind of a sine wave. I know we've been pretty heavy the last decade or two, but it's kind of up and down. There's troop pushes and troop drawbacks, but up here the gas is always on the pedal because they always need guys solving the world's toughest problems.
Trey, I think one of the other aspects to your question is the level of networking that goes on here across not just the DoD but across all government organizations is what makes this command successful. That was something that I hadn't experienced until coming up here. And as an officer, I came up at 12 years into my career, so a little bit later than most guys, and was blown away by just the touch points that you had into all different avenues of the United States government, and the impacts that then has on being able to get after and accomplish your mission.
Just to carry on with what Eric was saying, to take it a little bit further, is this unit is just the most flexible place that I've been at. I'm a TACP, focused on CAS until I got up here, and now I'm not doing any of that. I've interfaced with ambassadors, other governmental organizations, agencies, and done things way outside the scope of what I ever thought I'd do in my military career. I don't think you get that anywhere else.
What do you guys think operators will struggle with when they come up here? We're always talking about the positive stuff, so what are some things that we can reveal to them that they're going to have to consider also when they make the decision to come up?
Trey, this is Eric. I think one of the things that anybody's going to struggle with, coming into this organization, is that you're a small fish in a big pond now. You're working with the best, not only in the Air Force, but the best in the rest of the DoD, the best in the interagency and all of the U.S. government, and to be frank, you're working with the best from other nations as well. And so it's going to be challenging. You're gonna see yourself fail at some things, and you have to be willing to accept that and use it as an opportunity for growth, and just approach things from a humble perspective. So I think that's a challenge for some guys coming in here, is just realizing that there is someone better than you at just about everything up here.
Yeah, absolutely. Garron, again, I think that humility is key. A lot of guys that come up here are, the best at their organization when they come up here, and you'll find that you're surrounded by the most talented operators on the planet here, and that should be a driving force to help push you. It shouldn't scare a guy. You should look forward to that. For those guys to take you to the next level of your capabilities. And no matter how good you are on any given day, any dude in this organization could beat you the next day, because everybody's working their hardest to hone their skills and to stay as lethal as possible.
Yeah, Jared here. Just to echo what both these guys just said, I've never worked so hard in my life to be mediocre. It is a very humbling experience, and it is a struggle to stay ahead of the curve. The learning curve is very steep here, and as soon as you think you got a grasp on something, you'll get something new, and it's starting from square one all over again. So be malleable, be flexible. If you can keep that in the back of your mind and keep the drive going, that's how you'll succeed up here.
Murph here, I think the biggest struggle for all of the TACPs, once they're through OTC and they're here, is just not being able to be a JTAC with the other sister services. You just have to come up here knowing that right now that's the way that it is, and there's other ways that you can serve and still have a fulfilling time and give back to the organization, but you can't let that drag you down or make you cynical.
This is Duane. I think folks may struggle with just the opportunity of going through OTC. There's a lot of information being thrown at you. Some of it you're familiar with, some of it you're not. But I will say the way we kind of mitigated that and helped folks through that process of developing our kind of OTC cadre. So they are there to help get you through that process, to help adapt their teaching style to your learning style, and they're able to help you, coach you, mentor through that program. It's a pretty extreme, high-paced, 8-month program, and some folks can maybe be intimidated by that. You've already went through a 2-year pipeline. You had to go through a selection to get here, and then you're looking at that 8-month program, that train up, and you may be a little scared or unsure how you'll fit in. Everybody's already mentioned that, around the table here, how you're surrounded by the best operators. So as already has been mentioned, be humble, lose your ego, and come on up.
I think Trey wrote a book about that.
I struggled the most up here, to be honest with you guys. I was single when I got up here. I got married 3 months before 9/11. My wife worked inside the unit. And then what I had to start balancing in my world was FOMO of missing out on training and going overseas and everything else, and my responsibilities as a husband and a father. So I struggled with that for a few years up here, and I think we didn't have any of the support structures that we have now. So I think as we talk about family during the roundtable, you'll hear that a lot of that support network is going to help you out with that. But you as a man have to figure out how do you balance the fear of missing out and coming in and being so desiring to work, and also when it's time to just drop it and go home and be a good husband and father.
Trey, I think one of the things that I try to encourage guys with in that vein is think about your kids being the next generation of people to fill the ranks of this organization. And if they're so turned off to this organization because you put the organization above your family, that's not going to happen. But if you demonstrate, one, the importance of family, and two, the ability to focus on family and still be the patriot that you are, then I think you're going to see people that kids that want to be a part of this unit. So
awesome. We're going to move to advantages. So for a combat controller out there, and I'm going to be frank with the audience, we need combat controllers up here. We really do. We are becoming very short on combat controllers. So if you're out there listening and you're wondering, hey, what advantages are there up there for controller? Why not just stay out here? That's what we're going to tackle next. So Garron, we're going to look at Garron and Duane at this first, but then I want to get the other guys' perspectives on this question for sure. So what advantages are there for combat controllers up here compared to where they're sitting at now?
Yeah, Garron here. There's no better place to really fine-tune your craft. The problem sets that we tackle here, the amount of money and resources that we throw at exercises is completely unparalleled. You're not going to get anything closer to actual combat than the training exercise they put on here to really get you to the highest level of your skills possible.
For me, for combat controllers, this is Duane. Advantages, obviously, I know out of the 2 series units, getting your JTAC rating is kind of hard to do. You're absolutely going to get that rating if you come up here. We're going to make sure you're JTAC qualified, MQT or IQT, MQT before you start OTC. So that's definitely an advantage. Also, and this kind of applies across all the aspect warfare AFSCs. There's just multiple opportunities once you're up here. There's multiple operational squadrons. You can dab in the assault side of the house. You can go over to the DM side of the house. There's combat development opportunities. Really a place to grow yourself and grow your career.
I just want to add on to, we're going to have a Det 1. So Det 1 handles all our training for the unit. We're going to have a Det 1 discussion in a few weeks. But right now I think it's important out there because Duane mentioned it. If you're sitting out there as a non-JTAC, and that's most of the combat controllers out there these days, 100% of our combat controllers up here are JTAC qualified. They have to be. And we just stood up our first MQT program because we got to solve the problem ourselves. So if you're not a JTAC and you're waiting out there to maybe get a slot in a year or two, there's no reason to wait. Come up to assessment and selection. Let us decide if you're right for us, and then we will take care of that for you if we think you are, if you will be a good fit for us. So keep that in mind. Other guys around the table, though, what about combat controllers? Why here?
Yeah, Trey, that's a really good point about standing up MQT. I mean, guys, if you think about it at your units, the ability just to say, screw it, we'll just do it ourselves, like only really happens up here, right? So if you come up and you're not a JTAC, we'll get you there. And along those lines, I know JTAC's kind of the shiny object in the room, but, I've been around controllers my entire career. Sorry to say I've never done any rescue squadron time, but throughout my ST career, one of the unique things that controllers bring to the table, and I think sometimes gets glossed over, is the JTAC qual is not unique to combat controllers, but the assault zone survey stuff, the HLZs and landing strips that y'all do, I've seen that being asked for way more than I've seen, hey, can you drop some bombs? That's a given. They know that you're going to do that better than anybody in the world. But when you're talking about value to the command, that tidbit, that skill set that you guys bring, that isn't the sexy part, will get placement and access for so much more and enable you and your strike force to reach out into areas that you haven't been able to get to before. And it's probably one of the most valuable things that you guys bring to the table when you start talking about supporting our sister services.
It'll be interesting in a couple of years, I think, to see JTAC's importance start waning a lot, and we're really looking for that global access piece. Absolutely. I think it's going to be the biggest piece. That's hard to imagine right now, but I think that's honestly in 5 years we'll look back and kind of shake or scratch our heads and like, man, was JTAC was that big of a deal?
I mean, we're already seeing that. We had some guys that went out the door recently with one of the other units up here, one of the other joint units, and the proportionality of Air Force enablers to that unit, in terms of what was requested, was way out of proportion from what it's been in the past with a counter VEO fight, specifically because of the access piece that guys bring, but also even from the PJ side of the house, the expertise that guys have in terms of solving problems that are not easily solved, and being able to think outside the box to get after solving problems. So we're already seeing that happen.
Yeah, and to your point, Eric, and I know you guys listening are wondering, what are the problems that you're being asked to solve, right? Like, that's kind of a nebulous statement. We pride ourselves on saying that we're the best problem solvers in the nation. You'll hear that more times than not when you come up here to select. But that's the funny thing, man, is like you never know what those problems are, right? It could be, 180 out from what you were expecting, but being able to think on your feet and have that, forward thought process that enables you to think outside the box, pull in resources, leverage your connection with other air assets, that's invaluable, and that's not the same language that our sister services speak up here.
Garron here, 100% agree. Jared, I think a lot of guys may be concerned that they don't bring a whole lot of value with limited experience and maybe not a JTAC wall. But when you come up here and you embody the characteristics that we're hiring against, we will get you to that level to be able to problem solve and to be able to accomplish these missions, to force project, and to achieve success.
All right, let's talk about PJs real quick then. Same question, Jared. We'll start with you. What advantages are there for PJs up here compared to staying out in the rescue or the ST side?
Yeah, from the rescue side, from my understanding, with the Pedro mission going away and, the shift towards civil SAR, shuttle recovery, global access, up here, you're not going to have those 4-month rotations in SIG and LS sit and PR. You're going to be assigned to a strike force, or you're going to be on a troop that, needs a medic, right? So, the skills that you develop here through OTC and what you come up here within your career, what you bring to the table, those are the things that, when stuff hits the fan, I guess, for lack of a better term, when things get weird, for some reason, people turn to their PJ and they're like, hey, what would you do in this situation? Inherently, the skill set that you've been taught throughout your time as a pararescueman, for some reason, allows you to take a step back, look at a problem, think about it, and come up with a reasonable solution. And that doesn't have to be technical rescue. That doesn't have to be medicine. It can be all sorts of different things. I think that it's more of a mindset than a skill set. But up here, that's what everybody's looking for, and having the ability to do that, I think, in a joint environment, also kind of in a unilateral environment, especially like a younger PJ that's fresh with those skills, brings a lot to the table.
I think additionally for PJs, there's also, in all operators really, opportunities to segue into additional skill sets, sniper, breacher, and other like traditional assaulter and general operator core skill type stuff. So guys can become masters at their craft and their traditional skills as controllers and PJs and TACPs and SR, but there's a lot of opportunities to segue into other things that have a tremendous amount of value and maybe something that you've always wanted to do, but you wouldn't get that opportunity anywhere other than here.
Eric, from being out at a guard PJ unit or rescue unit coming here, like what's the difference? What's the difference of what your guys are doing there and what the guys are aligned against here, PJ wise?
I think the biggest difference was, at the time that I was at the guard unit, we were still doing rotations, overseas to the desert. So, we had a state mission that we were doing that really kept guys kind of honed on their patient treatment skills, on their prolonged field care. Rotations downrange, I think, helped guys with some of the TCCC type care. I think the big thing here is, guys coming off of OTC are going to be aligned against an assault troop, and so really the expertise that you're bringing to the table is not just your medical skills, but really your technical rescue expertise that a lot of guys coming from a rescue side don't have the opportunity to employ that as much as they think they would. So intent for PJs here is once they get off OTC to go be first line in terms of employing those skills.
One thing that I've always noticed about PJs, and being a controller, this is hard for me to say, but PJs have always seemed to me to be the best problem solvers I've ever been around. And I think it's the nature of the diversity of your training, whether it's medical, which is hard, which is ever evolving, whether it's ropes, which there's never one right answer, you got to make it up on the fly. I think that's, and Jared's right, man. When times get tough, even when I was an instructor on OTC or whatever, I'd always go to our PJ first and say, how can we crack this nut, man? Give me a way. And they always had a unique perspective on how to solve it. So the beautiful thing about being a PJ up here to me is that I think all PJs are just natural good problem solvers after you get done with your training. Some are better than others, but up here you actually get to apply those problem solving skills in ways that matter for this country, and I think that's what we all seek. So why would you not come up here and at least take some opportunity to get to do that? Let's talk TACPs, and Murph's the only TACP sitting here, so we're going to start with him. But Murph, if you're a TACP sitting out there at an ASOS, and we're getting more and more TACPs applying, which I love, for either the 17th or for units here inside the 724 proper at Bragg. What are the advantages? Why come up here? Why not stay out of the ASOS?
Well, Trey, I think one of the biggest advantages of being a TACP in general is just that focus. You get to focus on something and get really good at, and everybody loves being good at something. Up here, you get to be the best at that craft at CAS. But on top of that, you get to broaden your horizons. You're not pigeonholed into just being the CAS guy. You still are the CAS guy. You're looked up to amongst everybody here to know your craft and to know it well. But you're also maybe a machine gunner or a breacher or a sniper or working with the DM. The opportunities out here for you to go beyond what you thought you were capable of are second to none.
Yeah, jumping in here, there's Eric. I think, again, piggybacking on what Murph said, it's similar to the answer that we gave for the PJs and the combat controllers, is that you're going to come up and you're going to initially do the job that the Air Force trained you to do, but you're quickly going to branch out into the other problem sets out there. Murph and I had the opportunity to deploy together, I think, 2018. And the stuff that we were doing was stuff that neither of us was trained initially by the Air Force to do. There was a lot of challenges during that deployment, but there was a lot of rewards in terms of trying to get after problem solving in creative ways. And so part of the beauty of being up here is when you get people from a bunch of diverse backgrounds and you get after problem solving, you have a bunch of different perspectives coming in, and that's part of the cool thing about working in the environment up here, is just having a bunch of smart people around you that can help you solve a problem.
With TACPs traditionally having a pretty firm understanding of the MCO type fight, that's becoming increasingly important as we start looking at the global power competition. Traditionally, combat controller JTACs have been doing a lot of, assault style JTAC stuff. But that's a unique high level of training that I think a lot of TACPs bring in helping us to solve those problems in that GPC realm specifically.
Duane, I'm going to go to you for this one. So what options are available for TACPs? And we'll hit Murph after you. But right now, from the RASD perspective, what options are they when they call up and ask us, hey, where should I go? What's best for me?
Right now, there's a couple of different options. Obviously, one being the 17th STS down at Fort Benning. That's the unit that supports the 75th Ranger Regiment. They got 3 debts spread across the country. In my opinion, it's a good place for TACPs to go. There's also TACPs at the 24th, the 24 STS. Kind of limited on TACP options there, but that's another good option for TACPs. There's other options within the organization as well. Obviously, we have a fire shop. We have the DM unit where TACPs are allowed to go over and be a part of that as well with some additional training.
Yeah, I think it's important for the audience to know, especially if you're a TACP out there listening. There's limited slots though, so we're having a lot apply, and it's going to be very competitive to get one of these slots. So you need to be in contact with us and just figure out what unit you want to try out for and when's a good time, and we can help you have those conversations. Murph, over to you though. So if you were out there today, knowing what you know now, what would be guiding your thinking on where to go?
I think guiding it would just still want to be a part of one of the best organizations here in the military. It doesn't really matter which facet of that you're a part of. I've been a part of every organization inside the 724 other than the 17th, and I have left each one of those more well-rounded and enjoyed each position that I've done. I wouldn't stop or go back and change any of the time that I spent at any of those other units within the organization. I think you just really have to think about what you value and what you think your future may hold for you as far as where you would like to go. But at the end of it, it doesn't matter. If you get picked up here, just go somewhere.
So switching over to officers a little bit here, and I think we get as many questions about officers from officers as almost anybody else out there. So obviously, Eric, we're going to start with you, but why is this assignment valuable to officers, and when is the best time that they should look at coming up in their career timeline?
Let me answer the second of those questions first. I don't think there's a bad time to come up, Trey. I think anytime a dude has finished his first operational assignment or is reaching the tail end of that, if there's interest, then put the package in, come up and assess. If it's not the right time, we'll let you know and come back again. If you think you're too late in your career, I think perfect example is me. I was well past. I came up here as a major and still spent time at the troop level. So I think there's never a bad time to apply. In terms of why it's valuable, the list just keeps growing for me. First and foremost, obviously the mission is, I think, is paramount, but then the people are second to none. The NCOs and the senior NCOs that we work with here are hands down the best the Air Force has to offer. It's been a humbling experience working with guys and gals of this caliber, but it's also been a hugely rewarding experience in terms of the growth that happens. The breadth of mission that you're going to see, the depth of mission that you're going to see, and then just the exposure to a whole bunch of different things in the short time that I've been here is why this assignment's valuable.
To the rest of the table, what's been valuable about the officers up here that you've worked with, and how would you convince some of them out there this is the right opportunity for them?
Garron here. From my perspective, a lot of the officers that I've been exposed to here really get an opportunity to truly lead their men in real operational capacity, to truly leverage the experience and capabilities that they have assigned to them to go accomplish real-world tasks. And on top of that, there's developmental opportunities that you won't find elsewhere to help further your career progression, and get exposure to such a vast variety of different opportunities.
Working with conventional Army, SOF, Air Force, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, etc. I've been really impressed with the Stows and Crows. I think that their pipeline and their level of leadership is extremely high compared to everyone else across the military, and I've always been thankful that I've gotten to work under such squared away officers.
I think it's that exposure to that joint environment, and I just don't necessarily think you get that out of the ST units or the RQSs. You're going to come up here, you're going to get exposed, not to the joint as far as DoD military services are concerned, but as Eric was talking earlier, the whole interagency piece, the intel community, you're going to get exposure to all that. So, whatever the next ridgeline is going to be for the future here of the nation, we're not sure of, but we are sure it's going to involve that joint environment piece. So get up here, get some exposure to that, understand how it works. I think also maybe at some of the ST units or some of the RQSs, maybe as an officer, you're more of an administrative type. And maybe, it's been a while since I've been out there, but it's more administrative focused. But up here, you'll get the opportunity to be kind of down at the tactical, understanding the tactical level stuff, the operational level stuff.
Yeah, Jared here. I've had, I think, 6 different troop commanders in my time up here at the 24th. And to a person, I'd say that every one of them has come away from their troop commander time being professionally developed, being a smarter officer, having higher emotional intelligence, having a certain degree of maturity about them that they didn't have when they took their time. In this environment, in the joint environment, you're exposed to so much, and the approval processes for everything that we do up here, it's out there. You can look at it and you can learn from it. So coming away from your troop commander time, you're not only going to understand what it is to lead senior NCOs, you're also going to understand everything from CONOP development, co-analysis, co-development, all those things that you were taught in the pipeline. You will apply it up here, and every one of those goes somewhere. It's not just a training thing. They go somewhere for serious looks, for actionable missions that we will actually do up here. So I think it's just always valuable, and having good, strong officers is something that we definitely need.
Trey, the last piece that I'll add in, Jared, those are some good thoughts, is a lot of the stuff that we're oriented against is ambiguous at times, which is really challenging to try to problem solve against and can be really frustrating at times. But I've found that the more you do that, it doesn't necessarily get easier, but you definitely build your ability to problem solve against a wide range of things. So kind of just the ambiguous nature of some of the missions that we look at up here, whether they happen or not, is definitely a developmental aspect of being at this unit.
It's a great point. Stowe, a year off of OTC, came back over and talked to me one day, and he's like, for the last year, I've been getting to try to solve a problem that I have no idea how to solve, but I got the best people around me helping me solve it, and it actually matters for what this command's doing. He was loving it, man. So, Eric, a lot of officers, I feel like when I talk to them, they're worried they're not ready, and they're nearing the end of that first assignment, and that's where it's weird, right? Because then they're going to get another assignment, might move them overseas, or they're getting down to that major timeline after that second assignment. So help assuage their fears a little bit, man. What do you need to come up to at least assessment and selection as an officer? What are we looking for?
I think what we're looking for is, one, someone that's motivated to get after the job, to get after mission. Two, someone that has a desire to lead and actually wants to put themselves in the arena and put themselves in a challenging arena. Three, someone that's humble. You're going to come up and work with the best operators and the best support in the United States Air Force, and you'll see we get guys that come up with a little bit of an ego, and sometimes that can bite them in the proverbial ass at times, but some guys recover from it, some guys don't. So I think those are three things that people need to be aware of.
Yeah, I think what I just want the audience to hear, what he didn't say was they got to have 2 or 3 rotations overseas in some kind of leadership role. I mean, some of those are good, but it's not mandatory. And if you're out there waiting, kind of like we talked about enlisted earlier, if you're out there waiting for it, you're probably missing the opportunity, because we can get you a lot of the experience that you need when you're up here. So don't wait.
Yeah, Trey, that's a good point. And for those of you officers out there listening, as a senior NCO on the troops out here, I have never once asked the resume of the officer that I'm getting. I've looked for a guy that can lead and make decisions. Officers are in a position of leadership, but that doesn't mean that they're leaders. So the guys that we look to hire here have that innate quality about them to where the guys underneath them will want to follow and trust the decisions that they're going to make. Resume agnostic. They're
also going to get developed by the guys here. So, I've been developed by everybody at this table as an officer, and I came up as a dude that was more senior in an officer's career, quote unquote. So the NCOs here understand what it means to invest in their officers and make them the best that they can be. And the good officers up here, I think, understand that that's a two-way relationship, and that it's their responsibility to also invest in their NCOs and the people under them. So it's an awesome place to work.
All right, Murph, we're gonna go to you, man. Throw out some questions to the table, and we'll keep moving forward.
Okay. So just wondering, what do you guys value about your TACPs at your different organizations?
Yeah, Jared here. So I have 2 TACPs on my troop, and the number one thing that I value in these guys is their subject matter expertise when it comes to CAS and the JTAC rating. They're second to none, and they also, for whatever reason, TACPs just seem to be a little bit more Rangerfied than controllers, and they are great with that. The second thing on that ladder that I look for with these guys is just, their basic operator skills. And it seems like they come out squared away with their tactics, they're proficient in their weapon systems, and they're ready to be led. They're good followers when they come up, and when they make that position of leadership, they step right into it and they knock it out of the park.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I was gonna hit on that about the Rangerfiedness or the rigidity. I think it's a good balance to have here. Just kind of like you've got Rangers and SF up at the other organization across the street. It's a good counterbalance.
Absolutely, totally agree.
All right, another question. Somebody throw one out.
So this is Eric. I've got a question for the table. When's a good time to leave this unit and why?
Hey, this is Duane. From my perspective, I think there's a couple of reasons. If you come up OTC, you're a solid operator, but you're not looking to progress and take on any leadership roles, then maybe it's time to step back out and take some of that knowledge back out to the 2 Series units. Like if you're not willing to come up here, you have to do your team time, move up into team leader positions, up into the troop chief positions. If you're not willing to do that, then I think you come up for 4, 5, 6 years, whatever it is, but then it's time for you to move on. We're looking for folks not only to come up and do the job, to operate, but we need folks to step up and be leaders and lead the teams, lead the next generation. I think also another reason you may want to leave, if you do want to get promoted, we have limited, E8, E9 positions up here. Sometimes it's good to step out outside the fence here, get some experience, exposure to what's going on in the SD community, RQS community, and then maybe come back as a leader. We are not, I guess, on par with the Army and Navy, where you can just hang out and make E8 and E9 by just virtue of being here for a significant amount of time. We're kind of restrained by the Air Force of how many E8, E9 positions we have. So from my perspective, those are 2 reasons I think you would need to step outside or leave the unit.
Yeah, Duane, I think that's a good point. You could distill that down to whether you're still willing to serve the unit or you're looking to be, more self-serving. I think if you hit the latter end, that's probably your time to go, because this unit needs people that are going to serve its various needs and not people that are just going to serve, what they want to do.
Right. And this is Jared. It's kind of back you up on that one, Murph. There are multiple opportunities for you to have positions up here outside of the 2-4 STS or the 17th STS. If your ops tempo is so high, or you've just been running a gun for so long, you need to take a knee and hydrate, it's really easy to speak up and say, hey, it's time for me to take a break. And there's opportunities to keep you here in North Carolina. There's opportunities to keep you within the tier and have those jobs within the command still. And then the second point on that, if you're talking about kind of like on an individual level, what's the driving decision for you to make that choice of when it's time to stick around, when it's time to leave? And kind of the mantra that I keep, and I preach this to my guys, is there's a fine line between being skeptical and cynical, and I'm totally fine with skepticism. Like if you're not asking questions of the people that are making decisions for you, that's what we pay you to do, think outside the box. But the second that you start getting cynical and you go from asking questions about why decisions are made to trashing the decisions that are made, and you become that cynical person, you're starting to go down a path that is not going to be fulfilling for you, and that's probably a good time to look inside and say that maybe I've kind of hit my peak here at the unit.
I think also, just to piggyback on this, what I've seen, the best problem solvers I've seen come through here in the decades that I've been here are guys who keep evolving, who don't want to just hang out. If you stare at the same thing day after day, your ability to solve new problems is starting to really deteriorate. So I think guys moving around inside the unit like your Murphs and your Duanes, who have done a lot of different positions in here, those guys are solving problems at a different level that I think a lot of people outside the fence line probably can't even comprehend. And I think the second thing is, if you leave and go back out to a 2 Series or rescue unit, there's a career progression there too. It's not like you're not going to be beholden to that too. At some point, you're going to get a development position forced on you, whether you like it or not. You might be an instructor somewhere too. So I think up here, you get so much control over what your next move is. It's just worth investing time up here. Why else though, Eric? What do you think from your perspective?
I think a couple more reasons that it's potentially a good time to leave is, one, if you're interested in doing something else. I think sometimes there's a stigma of, hey, guys come up here and they have to be 100% bought in for 6, 8, 10 years, and the reality is that there might be something that you're interested in going and pursuing, and I think my answer to that would be absolutely go do it, and if the cards are on the table to come back at some point in the future, do so. I think the other one that is a tough one to say is, if it's time for your family, for you to somewhere else for a bit, then that can be a tough decision because it might not be the one that you want to make. But strong families are what makes this unit strong, and they're what makes the Air Force strong. And so I would say if your family is in a position where they need to take a knee and there's not the opportunity to do that inside the organization, then that might be another reason for leaving, at least for a time, and then looking to come back.
I know there's a whole lot of rumors that still exist outside the fence line that sometimes once you go up, you might not ever escape the fence line again. So anybody experience, I don't think that's true anymore. Eric, from your perspective, are you seeing that anymore?
No, I mean, from my perspective, it's a volunteer organization. If you are not volunteering to be here anymore, then, we'll find a way for you to go work somewhere else. And we've done that, in my time here. And not in a bad way. Guys have said, hey, I'm interested in going and pursuing other parts of the Air Force or even other parts of, the greater United States government, and, have left, with Godspeed, and, we'll stay in touch.
Two things I want to mention on that, because this is important. A lot of the reasons why we can do talent management now and move guys in and out of the organization is because we're a lot fuller than we used to be, especially on the PJ side. So PJs, if you're listening, take this to heart. We're eventually going to be full on PJs, and then we're going to work as guys leave, we can hire more, just like regular rescue and ST units are doing. So just keep that in mind. In the past, we could bring 20 up to selection. If we want to hire all of them, we could. Those days are kind of in our past, in our rearview mirror now. So it's going to be a lot more competitive for slots like being a PJ up here. So, again, contact the recruiters, us, if you're interested, and we can guide you when the best time to maybe come up to a selection is. All right, next question. Who's got one?
I got one kind of along the same vein. Garron here. What can my family expect as far as support, the routine, and my time home and away? I think that's a great concern for a lot of people with families that are potentially coming up here. And from our previous discussion, I don't want people with families and children to be scared away of coming up here just because of the ops tempo.
I think Murph here, the level of support for your family is unparalleled. You've got everything that the big Air Force has, except you've got it in greater capacity. So just from, marital counseling, psych docs, to retreats, to education, anything you could think of, we've got it here to help your family stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I think at least for the guys at this table, that are at the operational squadrons right now, all have kids that are, elementary school, junior high. I don't know that we got any high school age kids. So, the unit is made up of people with families, and we understand the importance of having, strong family connections. I think the community that surrounds this area as well is definitely aware of that, and does its best to support military families. I don't want to sugarcoat anything. It's a high ops tempo up here. Guys are on the road a lot, but we also find ways for guys to take a knee when needed, for families to take a knee, and when guys are gone overseas, TDY, whatever, the unit comes alongside and supports their family. So for me personally, it's been the best family assignment that we've been in my 17 years in the Air Force.
This is Duane here. I think another thing that helps out with the family piece is the cycle that the operators are on. There's a kind of a alert, train up, kind of deployment type cycle that we rotate on, so there's some predictability there. So you're able to communicate with your family, plan. You got downtime built into the schedule there, so you're able to take care of the home life and have a pretty successful work-life balance.
I absolutely agree with all the points you guys just put out. And Eric, I'm glad you brought up the community surrounding this organization. This ops tempo and everything was definitely a concern for my wife, coming up here with 2 kids and already putting in a pretty full career before getting up here. But we found nothing but a tremendous amount of support and just a friendly, supportive community. And then again, to touch on your point, Duane, about the cycle, the ability to be home, to be able to help coach football and soccer, depending on the type of jort that we're in. There's a lot of those opportunities. And the stress on the family unit, some of it is operational requirements. Some of it's self-inflicted, and it takes a great amount of humility and maturity to be able to speak up and say you maybe need a lateral move or something to help ease some of that burden. And I've never seen a guy catch a bunch of crap from his peers for reinvesting in his family while still maintaining a valuable position within this organization.
Awesome. Another question. Who else? What do we got?
I'll throw one out there. This is Duane. We're very fortunate here. Not only do our operators go through a selection process, but our support personnel also go through a kind of a selection process. So we're able to kind of hand select the folks that come up and work with us. Also, there's some unique opportunities for support personnel to integrate with the teams, the operational teams, over the 2-4 as well as over the data mask unit. Your comm folks, some intel folks, logistics, have some unique opportunities here. I would just throw out this question: what have been your experiences, I guess, with support personnel and how you integrate with them, or how you just in general work with them on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, Jared here, Duane. That's a good question. I would say the support here up at the unit is the gold standard that other units should be held against. From our RTOs to our electronic warfare to our EOD guys to vehicles, you name it. These guys, you never miss a beat. If you're training or deployed or whatever you're doing, if you need any support, any logistics, they are going to be the most highly trained, most capable support staff that you would ever have. So it's never a concern of mine that something will not work or won't be prepped, or I can't get from point A to point B. They'll move heaven and earth to make it happen for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Garron here. The support folks here are absolutely a part of the team, and the demand is high for them, but so is the appreciation from the operator side of the house. And we try to include a lot of the support guys in as much as we can, whether that's on the range, getting them tandem jumps, including them on exercises and deployments, because the support that they provide, we wouldn't be able to do our operations without that. And we expect a high degree of performance, and we do the best that we can to reward that high level of performance.
Murph here. Over at the data mass unit, I got a pretty unique look at the level of support that we have, and I just want to kind of stop using that word in regards to the data mask unit. Over there, a lot of the support folks are on the same level as the operators as far as their training goes. When I was a team leader there, I only had one Zulu career field in my team of 8 guys. The rest were all other traditionally considered support AFSCs, but when we would deploy, they weren't support. I kind of supported what they were doing. So there are some unique opportunities up here for support folks if you're thinking about coming out. This is just kind of a question to the listeners out there as well as to the table. Can you think of any reasons why you would not come to selection? Personally, I think there are pretty few, and I couldn't think of any myself. So I'll just open it up to the table.
I don't have a great answer for that question, Murph. This is Garron again. Because even if you come up to selection and you don't get hired, it's still an invaluable experience. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and you can take that back. You can work on it. You can reassess, or you can just become a greater asset to the organization that you return to. There's not. In my opinion, I can't think of a single reason why coming up to selection and putting yourself on the line to see if you have what it takes or what we're looking for is not a good idea.
Absolutely. I can't foot stomp that enough what Garron just said, but I think also if you just got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, am I willing to go all in? Because if you're not all in, man, you're not going to fit here. And that's what we're going to look for at selection. We want you to come to A&S because I think you might figure out at A&S that I am all in. You might figure out pieces and parts of yourself that you didn't know existed yet. And that's because every person around this table has been an evaluator. And I think of them more as mentors going through the selection process. They don't get to interact probably as much as they want to, But your evaluators, when you're coming through, are there, and the feedback they get and the feedback you get from your peers, the growth opportunity is immeasurable. And you can't even imagine it, like Garron was saying, until you come up. So it is hard to imagine people not wanting to come up. But again, if you're not all in, this organization is going to eat you up.
Yeah, and to add on to that, Trey, this is Jared here. You have to come up here for the right reasons too. Like he said, if you're not all in, you're not going to fit. And if you're coming up here and you just want to, be a cool guy and do that, it ain't going to work for you either. Before you make that choice to assess, take a good look at, what you want out of your military career. We want the guys that are going to show up to work every day and grind, get better and earn that beret every day, and keep the mentality that they should have never graduated OTC and they shouldn't be on the troops. If you bring that to the fight, you'll be fine. Yeah, question for the group. This is Jared here. Can you guys briefly describe some of the leadership opportunities and professional development that you've been able to take part of here at the command?
Murph here. I've gotten to do a few things that were, I never thought I'd get to do. I got to do an interagency communications course where, I learned to interact with other members of the government and country teams of embassies. I also done, pretty high level, like executive leadership type courses put on by the RASD team that, people pay a lot of money on the outside world to go to, and that are incredibly formative and help you realize, your own potential.
Yeah, to echo on what Murph said, this is Eric. I just sat in, a leadership development course hosted by our RASD guys 2 weeks ago, and you would think that 17 years in the military, like you've kind of got your leadership style figured out, and there's definitely some truth to that. But the guy that we brought in to help facilitate the course, the course was on leadership and organizational culture. Man, I left that week definitely better able to understand, how I'm best postured or where I'm most successful as a leader, and how to surround myself, with the people that I need to round out areas where I'm not, and then how to understand just the culture and the organization that we work inside better to make it more effective. So, immense opportunities to better yourself and better the organization that you work in.
Just to expound on the development piece of the RASD, that is a unique opportunity I think that we offer up here at this unit. I don't think it's anywhere else in the ST community or the RQS community, but our development program has like 3 pillars to it, and the first pillar being the soft skills that we're just talking about, the leadership courses, speaking, writing, negotiations, whatever it is you think you may need to succeed, we offer a course like that. So you're able to not only better yourself, I mean, at the end of the day, we want to make you a better person, but in turn, that's going to make us a better organization. The other element to that is educational opportunities. We've got a pretty robust network of educational opportunities. I know a lot of folks who want to pursue bachelor's, master's degrees and stuff, so we've got a robust network of educational opportunities out there, so we kind of manage that to help folks who come up here to broaden their education. And then the third part of that development program is the transition piece, where we bring you up here, we run you into the ground, but we also want to take care of you and treat you right when we send you back out. Whether you're retiring, whether you're separating, we're going to take care of you and get you the everything you need to have a proper transition out of the military or back to the regular Air Force.
This is Garron here. Our organization does do a good job of providing developmental opportunities, but outside of that, there's also a lot of sister service integrated developmental opportunities and courses that you can go to progress as a leader, learn more about the command, and learn how to be more of an effective leader. So not only are we tackling that here within our organization, but there's a tremendous number of opportunities with our sister services.
Yeah, that's a good point, Garron. Jared here. You have the ability up here to develop as a leader and professionally as much as you would like to. If we think of traditional Air Force leadership, and we're talking about ALS, NCO Academy, or Senior NCO Academy, those of you that have been to those know what you get out of it, and a lot of it's not applicable to you as an operator. When you start going to the development courses that the command offers, you see how you're integrated into the national defense strategy, what a comp plan is, and what strategic pictures look like, and how you fit into it. That kind of knowledge enables you as a leader to speak professionally and educated when you start developing plans and are looking to put those into action. Knowing who to go to and when to go to that person is very valuable up here, especially in the joint environment.
I just want to add before we move off this subject that as a civilian, I was here for 11 years as an operator, but as a civilian, I've got some of the most incredible pro dev opportunities. And one of them was a leadership course with our Army counterparts, kind of going along with what Garron and Jared are saying. It was a 2-week course that blew my mind, and I got to attend it with a troop, really a team of guys from one of the squadrons over there, and they had just lost a team member overseas. And so going through that course led by Tony and another guy that Eric was talking about earlier, the course he went through, it was just a humbling course where you get to see warriors learn more about themselves, their egos pushed against the whole course, they're having to come out of their comfort zones, and by the end, I saw a whole bunch of leaders leave that course a lot better than they were when they came in. And I don't think a lot of people outside of the fence line are getting those opportunities. I hope I'm wrong, though. The other thing I got sent to was an executive coaching course out in California for 10 days to where you learn how to develop others just through asking questions. And I guess the whole point to all that is we see what the gaps are up here, and we start plugging them by sending our guys to courses that will help us get better and push the organization forward. Guys like Eric, who are in a key leadership position, he's about to move into another one, and he's going through that leadership course. I guarantee coming out, he's a better leader than he was when he started that course on day one. So I think it's very unique up here, and I think Duane and the RASD shop are doing an excellent job at getting those opportunities out there. Shout out to Victoria, who's leading that effort for us. All right, one more question. Who's got one? Send it.
Yeah, it was Garron. I got one more. For guys that are considering coming up here to assess, how do they get exposure to life within this organization prior to committing to selection?
Garron, to answer that question, is there one? There's opportunities out there for guys to come up and train with at least one of the ops squadrons up here. We push opportunities out all the time through the 720th. I don't know whether all those opportunities make it down to the individual team level. So what I would say is if you're interested in participating in training up here to get some exposure, then use your chain of command and ask them, or just come up on the net and say, hey, I'd like to get up to the unit up there and potentially see some of what they do, and they can reach out to us, and I'll move heaven and earth to get guys up here to be able to see what we do, because I think once you do, you'll get the bug and want to be a part of it.
Yeah, Jared here. For the audience out there, if you're interested in this is something that you're taking into consideration, don't overlook the power of the Bro Network. I know you guys all have friends up here. It's a simple phone call away. If they're not available to train with you and that ask comes out from your unit, they'll find somebody that can. And we're more than willing to come to you, or you come to us, and do whatever you'd like. So go ahead and use it.
Who at the table supported the organization before they came up here? 3? Is that it?
Well, I didn't have
MLAT, so that's what I did too. And I know Duane to say the same thing of I was sitting in my unit up at McCord, and they offered the chance, so I was a bike chaser on one of the MLATs and was sold. Like a level of professionalism and tactical expertise that I saw on that mission convinced me. So what we're just trying to say is we're trying to give you the opportunity to come up and just witness what we're doing and make a decision for yourself. But I promise you, if you're surrounded by guys at this table right here, it's going to be hard to say that's not somewhere where I'd like to be and be surrounded by that level of operator. So we're going to go around the table for closing comments. Murph, we're going to start with you. Round us out.
I just want to thank you guys for listening to us talk about this today. And I just would just ask yourself, if you're thinking about coming up here, are you all in? And what reason would you not have to come up here? Because the ball's in your court the entire time. So come out.
So again, this is Eric. I think one of one of the potential dangers of something like this is you get a bunch of people from one organization sitting around a table talking about their organization, and talking about all the awesome things that that make the organization up, and people listening in can get the impression that that there's a big ego, that that they've got some blind spots to other things that are out there. What I would say is that I think as an organization we try to do a pretty good job of remaining grounded and remaining focused on what our role is. And that's not to say that there's not some phenomenal units out there. The two operational units that I was at before coming up here were both very foundational in building me as a leader today. But I wouldn't go back. This is the place that I wanted to be, and that I want to be and continue to want to be. So yeah, thanks.
This is Duane. First of all, just thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. A big shout out to Trey for putting this together. Really huge asset here to get the information out to the folks about our unit, about the A&S process, and just a lot of detailed information. So it's a great resource. I would also say, if you're out there and you're looking for something else, if once you finish the pipeline, you got to your first unit and you're like, wow, it's not all I thought it was going to be, give this place some serious thought about coming up here. If you're kind of being comfortable, then maybe you want to stay where you are. But if you're okay stepping outside of your comfort zone, drop an application, come on up, push yourself a little bit, step outside that comfort zone, and come up and give it a shot. You're going to be a better person, whether it works out or not at selection. You're going to learn a ton about yourself, and you're going to become a better person. You're going to push yourself like you never thought you could push yourself before. So it's a really unique opportunity, and I just throw the challenge out there to you. Come on up.
Jared here. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks to Trey for putting this on, and thanks to the guys at the table. Just like Duane said, take the opportunity because it's there for you. If you're one of the guys that's thinking about doing it, it's in your head. Let that seed grow a little bit and be the guy that takes the next step. Don't go through the rest of your career thinking maybe I should have done this and then just let it slip away. So thanks again, guys.
Yeah, this is Garron. Happy to be a part of this discussion. Hopefully it's been valuable for all you guys listening. And again, just this move to come up here has not only been phenomenal for me from a career perspective, but watching my family grow together within this community and this command has been beyond what I ever thought was possible. It's been the best career choice so far.
All right, thanks from me for coming out and spending time with us. That is the inaugural roundtable. If you have any suggestions for questions or from AFSCs to bring in, please do so. We'll get some support folks in here eventually, and we appreciate y'all tuning in.